Okay, this is going to be a very basic tutorial about how to use Davinci Resolve. I'm going to take it kind of from the point of view of people who might already know something about nonlinear editing, including using Premiere Pro. It's not everything Resolve can do, it's just using it for basic editing. And a lot of this material, which was done by Professor Sandhouse at FIU, thanks to him for letting us use this footage, was pre-prepared. In other words, all of the things that were in the description down below were done both before shooting and after shooting to prepare the footage and label the footage and give it names that are meaningful names and organize them into bins that were useful to speed up the edit. Plus the footage was all pre-reviewed, so I wasn't discovering what shots I need to use while I was editing. I kind of knew already what I was going to put together and how I was going to do it, and I suggest you do the same. So anyway, let's get started. So we start a new project here. This is what it looks like when you open Resolve. You click on New Project. We're going to give it a name. We're going to call it 12 Miles. And create the project. And Resolve opens into what's called the cut page, which is a very easy way to import the footage. Over here we have these icons. One says import media. Do not go up here to file. Use the icons. Import media imports one file at a time. The import media folders is much easier to use. It preserves the folder structure that was done in the pre-production phase. So here's all the folders that are inside, but again, we're not going to go inside. We're just going to actually import this entire folder. So once it imports, there it is. And we're not going to do anything in the cut page. That's a whole nother tutorial. Let's go to edit. And then you'll see here all the same folders that were inside Premiere. Now we're going to create another folder to put the actual timeline in. But we're going to add a bin here. And we're going to call it timeline bin. And then it was inside this folder too, so we're going to click on it here, and we're going to go to our stand-ups, and we're going to use one of the stand-ups to actually create the sequence. So I'm going to double click the first stand-up, which is the first thing on the edit, and we're also going to come over here to these three little dots here, and we're going to tell it to show the full audio waveform of this clip. So now we get the visibility here. Now I'm going to play a little bit of this. It's not really so much as how to edit this particular project, but sometimes you don't get in takes, to just start right at the beginning. That's what editing is all about. So you'll see Jay starts here, but then a baby cries and he has to restart again. So I'm just going to show you that. It's just part of the editing process. So let's play.
Ho, ho, ho. It's Christmas Eve. About 6 in the...
Okay, so then he has to start again here. So I'm just going to skip forward because I know it starts here visually. So that's what showing the waveform is good for. And then again, similar to what we've done in Premiere Pro, you just hit I on the keyboard to mark in. And let's play through the end of where he finishes his little introduction stand-up.
Ho, ho, ho. It's Christmas Eve. About 6 in the morning. What are you doing today? Have you been naughty? Have you been nice? I'm here at Runner's Depot to run, I don't know, maybe 12 miles?
And I'm just using the space bar to start and stop. Now I'm going to hit O on the keyboard to mark out. You see the highlighted section is what's used. And then to put it down on the keyboard, down onto the timeline, I'm just going to click and drag it down here and just drop it on video 1 and audio 1. If there's a little extra space here, I'm just going to click the blank space and hit delete just to bring it back to the beginning. And now we have created this sequence called timeline. Now I'm just going to click on the name here and call it 12 Miles V1 for version 1. And I'm going to drag this, click it, and drag it and drop it into the timeline bin, so it's in its own separate bin here. Okay, so this is actually our first edit. Okay, and this is what we put down, exactly what we marked in and out on, just like Premiere. If we click in this timeline and hit end on the keyboard, END, we'll go to the end of that clip and mark I for end. And now we're ready for the next clip. And since we pre-planned our edit, I don't have to sit here and watch all the footage. I know what I'm going to go to next is the voiceover. So I'm going to go to voiceover 1. It's an audio only clip. Now this particular clip was pre-edited when it was recorded and then edited in something like Audacity, which is a freeware. It could be edited inside Fairlight, which is built into Resolve, but I think Audacity is pretty easy to use and a good way to work with your voiceover. So let's mark in at the beginning. Again, I'm going to hit the end key and go to the end of the voiceover and mark out. And then I'm just going to hit F10 on the keyboard to put that in. Now you'll notice down here on the timeline, the playhead, just like in Premiere, jumps to the end of the last edit. So it's right ready to go. Just have to hit I to mark it in for the next shot. And the next shot is going to be go to my interviews folder. And I'm going to take interview number 1. Notice I numbered the interviews in the order that they're going to be used. So double click here, and this is something that's standard for when you're shooting, is you have the person say their name and spell it and then tell you their position. This will never make it into the final edit. It's just so you can correctly create their graphic and spell their name right. This will not be in the final edit, but I'll just show you real quick.
We are rolling. Renee, tell us your name, spell your first name, spell your last name, and then tell us your title.
Hi, Renee Grant, RENEE GRANT. I'm the founding owner of Runners Depot and president.
Okay, looking at Alfred.
Okay, now you'll notice here that she starts talking, but she kind of leans out of the frame, and then Jay stops her and has her restart, but keeps her in the frame.
And tell us about the 12 Miles of Christmas.
The 12 Miles of Christmas is in its 4th year. This is something we developed to give back to the community.
One more time, but kind of try and stand still.
Okay.
Go for it.
Okay, after he says go for it, we're going to mark in. And she does her whole little piece here.
The 12 Miles of Christmas is something that we developed.
We're not going to listen to that whole thing. I'm going to skip down here. Notice where I'm clicking to make the playhead move.
Something, the toys all go to Joe DiMaggio's Children's Hospital, and people came in with droves of toys, and it's been a really wonderful thing. A community all comes together, all the running clubs come together, and it's just a great experience.
Right there, great experience, mark out. Okay, so again, all I have to do is hit F10 on the keyboard to post it. Notice there's the next shot. Notice the playhead jumps to the end, so I can go ahead and mark in again. The next piece is the interview number 2. So I'm going to double click that. Now again, he says and spells his name. We're not going to go through it, but just to listen to his name.
A silvery aluminum in it.
So give us your name, first name, last name, spell it, and your title.
Michael Giacobbe, Michael.
Okay, so then now he's going to start. It's about right here. Click down here.
Tell us how you just came up with the idea of doing a 12 Miles of Christmas training run.
Right here, mark in. And we're going to take it through where he...
One afternoon, Renee and I were talking in the office about doing something for Christmas Eve, like a run, just to try to give back to the community a little bit. And we came up with the idea of having a small little run. She'll send out a few emails, see what happens on Christmas Eve in the morning, so our customers can get their run in. First year was successful. Second year was also successful. By the 3rd year, we said, you know, we really need to do something a little bit bigger, get even more people involved. How about we tell the runners to come in, bring a toy, and that's their entry into doing the 12 Miles of Christmas.
Right there, mark O for out, and again just hit F10 on the keyboard, and again it appends it to the end, moves the playhead to the end. Mark I for the next shot. The next shot is going to be another voiceover, so let's go up here and voiceover number 2. Again, this is pre-edited, so I'm just going to mark in at the beginning and hit the end button on the keyboard and mark O for out, and then F10 to drop that in. And again, playhead at the end, mark I. Let's go for the interview of the 3rd interview. And again, he says and spells his name, and then he starts talking, and but he just kind of jumps into the middle of the answer. So Jay stops him and kind of redirects him so he can say it in a editable way. Just take a look. Just his name first.
We're rolling. Chuck, give us your first name, last name, spell your first name, spell your last name, and then tell us what your title is.
Remember, this will not make the final edit.
Okay, first name Chuck, last name Kirsch, last name Kirsch, co-owner of Runners Depot.
And tell us some of the challenges to put on a race like this.
Logistics, I would think, is important because of the course. It's
Do me a favor, start that again and say some of the biggest challenges of putting on a race like this is.
logistics.
No, say that.
Now, right there, he says it. He starts it the right way.
Some of the biggest challenges are logistics, having people at the right location, directing people, having enough water at the water stops and gels, and making sure we don't have a traffic congestion because there's over 350 people came today.
Right there, mark out. F10 to lay it on the timeline. And then we go for the last stand-up. Now, we're able to make these decisions so fast because we watched the footage ahead of time. Okay? So here we go. I'm just doing this watching Jay's mouth about to start talking. So now I use the left arrow key and back it up a couple frames. Right there, mark in. And then we'll play it through.
Now, as an extra added bonus to put underneath the tree, if you entered this 12 miles of Christmas training run, you got this great looking Brooks tech shirt, long sleeve, for the extra cold weather here in South Florida. For multimedia production, I'm Jay Sandhouse. Happy holidays, everyone.
Right there, and mark O for out, and F10 to put the last shot down. Okay, so now let's save. Control S or Command S on a Mac. Probably should have done that a little sooner, but I was moving kind of quick there, so I didn't do it to the end. Now this is all done, so we're good. Now I suggest you go back and look at your edit here and make sure there weren't any mistakes and your in and out points are at the right point, and we can make any changes if you need to here. But I'm going to go ahead and lock these tracks. I'm going to add another track here, which is where we're going to put the B-roll. I'm just right clicking over here in this area. I'm going to add a track. Okay, now it's very important that I'm now going to tell it to turn off the audio recording there, turn off the video recording on V1, and turn on the video of V2. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put B-roll, and we're just going to do 5-second B-roll shots. So I'm going to come here to right on this. I'm going to move the playhead here. I'm going to move my playhead here it just snaps to the end of that piece. And then I need a couple of B-roll shots to put in here. So I'm just going to put 5-second B-roll shots. So I'm going to go inside the store. Notice I have one bin that's full of all the shots inside the store, another bin that's full of all the shots from outside and the runners running. So I'm going to click here, and I didn't put them in any particular order, but I like this shot, so I'm going to start with it. I'm going to move it in just a little bit from the beginning. Mark I for in on the keyboard. Now, to make it be a 5-second shot, I'm going to go over to the numeric keypad of the computer, and I'm going to press plus, hit the plus symbol, then 5, then the period key. So it's plus 5 period, and then enter. And when I hit enter, it jumps forward 5 seconds. So then I mark O for out. And so there's my 5-second shot. You can look here. It's actually 5 seconds in one frame, but we're not going to worry about that one frame. And then we've got these two tracks locked. We've got the video going to this track. Notice I clicked on that. And I'm going to hit F10 to put that shot in. Now the playhead automatically lines up in the right space. I can just leave it there. And let's go find the second shot. So let's double click. And we have this tagging the numbers shot. So again, I'm just going to drag through this a little bit. I'm just clicking on this and just dragging. And we'll get it right before it zooms into her. Mark I for in, and then back over to the numeric keypad, plus 5 dot enter. Jumps forward, mark O for out. F10 to lay it on the timeline. Now I have one more shot to do. So I'm going to go up here and get this shot. I'm going to skip past these toy shots because I'm just going to use them later. And let's see. Let's get behind the register. Okay, so again, I'm just going to move the playhead forward a little bit from the beginning. Mark I for in, go over to the keypad, +5 dot enter, mark O for out, and override it with F10. Okay, now they have these buttons here. This shows you the entire timeline no matter how long it is. This one is a detail zoom. It zooms in where the playhead is. So I'm going to click on this and it zooms in. You notice the shot doesn't quite fill up the rest of this gap, so I'm going to just use the mouse, grab the end of this shot and just drag it forward till it snaps to the end of that. And then save. Command S or Control S. And you'll see it'll cut right from this to the next shot, which is Renee. So here's Renee. Now we're going to let her play, okay, until she has enough time for us to get her graphic up before we start the B-roll. So I'm going to go back to the more wide view here, and I'm just going to play until I feel comfortable that we've had enough time. It's usually about 5 seconds, so you can count in your head to 1005, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005. But I've got a specific place I'm going to stop it here.
The 12 Miles of Christmas is something that we developed 4 years ago to give back to the community, to bring people out, to celebrate the holidays, get in a long run before they pig out on all of their holiday food.
Right there. So right there I'm going to mark my first endpoint for B-roll. Okay. And again, I'm staying put inside the store. So let's go for the big group here. And this is just a nice shot of all the runners that are showing up here that were inside the store. Started a little bit into the shot, so mark in and then +5 dot enter and mark O for out and F10 onto the timeline. And then I'll pick one more. Store pan. This shot here. Alright, nice shot. Mark in. +5 dot enter. F10. Put it in. And then this is where she starts talking about that something happened wrong there. We're gonna undo. Control Z. So this shot came out 10 seconds long, so I don't want that. So I'm going to bring this back here to where it was at the beginning. Go to the end point. Drag this forward to the end point. And then +5 dot enter and mark O for out. So now it's a true 5-second shot and hit F10. Okay, so now she starts talking about the toys.
Donates for us, and it grew tremendously that year and doubled in size this year. People love the thought of giving something. The toys all go.
Okay, so there's one more shot before she starts talking about the toys. So I'm just going to snap the playhead back here and let's pick one more shot. That's a picture of the t-shirt. Actually, that's not bad. Let's just go there and then mark in. +5 dot enter, mark out, F10 to put it in. And now we're going to have the shots about the toys. So let's do the guys putting the toy. Notice I've named all these something.
Outcomes every year.
And once he gets
Been
it,
a staple of the race community.
Hold it
for
up.
years.
Right there, so right before he holds it up, mark in, +5 dot enter, O for out, F10 to put it down. Now let's get a close-up of the toys. A little panning shot. And once it starts moving, mark in, then +5 dot enter, O for out, F10, and one more shot. Let's use this Christmas tree zoom. So we'll see where the zoom happens. Let's just set the out point this time, where it gets out here nice and wide. So the shot actually stops zooming and sort of lands. Right there, we can set an out point instead of an in point, an out point. And this time we're going to go -5 dot enter and hit in, and it's still a 5-second shot. And we hit the F10 to lay it in. Now, we're right here on the edge of the next interview, so we want to cut the B-roll shot off before it bleeds into him. So what we're going to do is hit the detail again, and then come back and just trim this back So it starts right at the beginning of the next person. Oh, that didn't quite work. Grab onto it better. Okay, there it is. Let's save. Command Control S or Command S to save. Okay. And again, we're going to let him do his little introduction here, and we're just going to repeat this process, okay? So again, we're going to give him about 5 seconds roughly to say his piece before we cut, while we put up his graphic.
One afternoon, Renee and I we were talking in the office about doing something for Christmas Eve, like a run, just to try to give back to the community a little bit.
Right there. So that's in, and now we're just going to go and do this again, and we're going to keep doing this all the way till we pass over, but we're going to go to runners. And we're going to start off with this one. And again, just come into it a little bit, mark in, +5 dot enter, mark O for out, F10. And then the next shot, low angle on the group. Let's start with the out point this time. So right after the last person gets through the shot, we'll mark O for out and then -5 dot enter. -5 dot enter. And mark in. And lay the shot down with F10. And then we'll do this one. Right as she's waving. So mark I for in, +5 dot enter. Mark O for out and F10 to lay it in. Okay, let's go back to the wider view here. Okay, we got a couple more. Now we got to go all the way past him and then all the way across Jay's next voiceover. So we've got quite a few to do here. So we've got a bunch of people going from right to left. Let's go back in the other direction. So that looks pretty good. Mark I for in, +5 dot enter. Mark out, F10. And then let's go white group. And again, let's take it to where they go past the soul. Mark O for out, and then -5 dot enter. Mark I for in and F10. And then let's go to the low angle of the close-up of the feet. And let's go from where the last foot goes by. Mark O for out, -5 dot enter. O for in, and mark I for in and F10. Okay. Mark I for in, +5 dot enter, O for out, F10. And maybe one more. And mark I for in, +5 dot enter, O for out, F10. Okay, and now we're going to go to the detail view again. And say it's not quite there, so let's grab it and drag it out to make the end here. Okay, so now we finished with our B-roll. Well, not quite. We got a couple more B-roll shots to go. So now let's have Chuck here have his 5 seconds to put up his name. So let's play that.
Some of the biggest challenges are logistics, having people at the right location, directing people, having enough water at the water stops and gels.
Let's figure out where we're going to put this.
Some of the biggest challenges are logistics, having people at the right location, directing people, having...
Directing people. So right there, that's enough time to put up his graphic. So we've got time for about 2 shots we can put in there. So let's see what we can do with this one. We've used that one already. Let's use the ladies getting water here. Okay, so let's mark in there, then +5 dot enter, O for out, F10, and then this last one with snacks. And again, we'll mark an endpoint, I for in, +5 dot enter, O for out, and F10. And then again, that went over just a little bit, so let's go back into the detail view. And let's trim it up just a little bit. Let's go back to the wider view. Let's make sure that shot's just not too short.
Some of the biggest challenges are logistics, having people at the right location, directing people, having enough water at the water stops and gels, and making sure we don't have a traffic congestion, because there's over 350 people came today.
Now, as an extra added
okay.
bonus to put underneath the
All right, so let's save, Control S or Command S. Now we're pretty much done with this. So with the main editing, we're just going to add the graphics. So let's go ahead and lock the B-roll track, and let's go up here to the graphics. So we're going to go all the way back to the beginning, so we can put Jay's graphic first, and we're going to go to Effects Library, and we're going to go down here to Titles, and we're just going to grab text, and we're going to drop it on the timeline here on the V3 track, and then we're going to go into the detail mode and click on it. Okay, so once we click on it, to be able to change it, we got to go over here to the inspector, and the inspector just calls it title, and here it is. So we're just going to do just like a word processor. We're just going to click and highlight the word title. I'm going to type his name, Jay Sandhouse, then hit return and type FIU reporter. Okay, and then we're going to make this be a little bit chunkier. So I'm just going to type in Arial, go to, click on this and go to Arial. Arial black, nice and chunky. And then on the FIU reporter, instead of making a different font, really, we'll just use this, and we'll change it to Arial, but we'll tell it to be bold. Okay, so it's a little skinnier, but it's a little bold. Now we're going to go and highlight both of them, and we're going to come down here and add a stroke and a drop shadow. So the stroke, we're going to put it about 4, and just click in here and type 4. And in the shadow, we're going to keep both the stroke and the shadow black. And we're going to do a little bit offset to the right with the x-axis. Click in here and drag to the right. And then click on the y-axis and click here and drag down a little bit. And the opacity is at 75%. Maybe I'll turn it up to like 85%. Just click in there and type 85. Okay, and just for a little bit of variation, we'll come back up here to the top, and let's go all the way up, and just highlight the name again. I'm going to click on the color of this font, and make it be somewhat of a, like this color, and say OK. Now we're going to move to this tool here, so we can reposition it. And just click on it and bring it down here into sort of that area. And now we're set. Okay, now while we're zoomed in at this level, we're going to click on this title, and we're going to go forward about 10 frames. I'm going to go out here to 10, and I'm going to click on this and drag it forward. That's going to create a 10 frame fade up. I'm going to do the same thing on the video. I'm going to unlock the video track, And I'm going to slide this forward. And just so it's not weird with the audio, I'm going to unlock this and do it with the audio too, so it also fades up. Otherwise the audio will be there full volume before you see the picture. Okay, and I'm going to go to the end here. And I'm going to go to the end. I'm going to note where the time code is, 5 seconds. So I'm going to come back like half a second. So I'm going to come back to 4:15. Oh, actually, let's take it let's go to 4:15. That's good enough. So that's half a second back. And then we'll grab the end of this and make a nice little fade out. Because we're going to cut. God, the mouse on this laptop is terrible. I'll make a nice little fade out. Okay. Now let's save. Command or Control S. Now we've also created this with this font, these colors, and this fade in and out, so we can paste it later in the production without having to recreate all this. So let's click on this. So it's selected. You see the selection color around it, and Command or Control C to copy. Let's go to the wider shot. Okay, and then let's come down here to Renee's first shot. Let's zoom in to make sure it's in the right spot. We've got let's lock these tracks back so we don't mess them up by accident. Remember, we're on the V3 track here, and we're going to paste Command V. Okay, we need to back up just a little bit just to make sure it went in the right spot, and it did. But now all we have to do is come here, and we're going to change this to the proper name. Renee Grant. And this one too. Founder. Runners Depot. Let's do founder of Runners Depot. And just check and make sure everything translated. Now we have to go to this little tool here and bring this back into the picture a little bit more. Okay. And then we'll copy this again. Just click on it, Control C. Switch back to the wide view. Go down here to Michael. Zoom in again. Well, we can just paste it there. Command or Control V. Go to our detail view. And we can click on this. I'm going to change it to Michael or Kobe. Remember, he said and spelled his name. And he's manager of Runners Depot. Okay, just click in here just to make sure it all shows up well. Fine. And then we're going to go back to the wide view. And we're going to go to Chuck. And we'll focus in here. And we'll paste again. And we'll click here. And I'll change this to Chuck Kirsch. And he's co-owner of Runners Depot. Just check it to make sure it comes in there nice. Okay, that's fine. And save and S. And now we'll go to the very end of the production. And I'm going to go into the focus, the detail mode again. Scroll down here to the very end. Okay. Okay, and again, the end is at 32:11. So I got to go back. Let's go back 15 frames. So we're going to go back to 31:26. 1, 2, 3. 31:23 is close enough. And we will add gotta unlock this track and this track. And we're gonna add a little fade down on the video. And a little fade down on the audio. And we're done. Command S to save. We're going to go back to the wide view. Now we can play this. We don't need to play it, but I'm not going to play that for the tutorial. It'll take too long. So now the last thing we need to do is export it. So I'm going to lock these tracks back. I don't necessarily have to do that, but I'd just like to do it for safety. We'll make sure we've saved. Command S or Control S. And we're going to go to the deliver page. So we hit deliver. And we're going to go over here to the first we're going to go to the render and make sure we're doing an entire timeline. That is the default, so you normally don't have to change that. We're going to go over to render settings, and we're going to choose YouTube for our purposes, and we're going to change it to 720p so it goes a little faster. If your camera was shooting 1080p, you should render it at 1080p. If you followed my instructions before and set your camera to 720 so it took up less hard drive space, then you change it to 720, but you have to know what you shot it in. That'll just render faster. And then once you've done that, you tell it to add to the render queue, and this asks you what you're going to name it and where you're going to put it. So I'm just going back to my same folder here, and I'm telling it I'm going to go in my 12 miles folder that I had, and I'm going to tell it to be 12 miles project. Okay, I want to call it 12 miles ICA project and save it, but that doesn't really save it. That just saves the settings, and then we say start render, and it will start rendering. And you'll notice that this is moving here. It takes a little while because it does a very high quality render to put it out. And when it's done, you upload that resulting movie to YouTube, and then you put this on your ICA's page. Now when you do this for your final project, you would render it and put it up to YouTube and then post it on your major projects page. And that's it.